Hey folks, On Target Training up here today. We're going to be talking about the Gen 5 Glock 17. As you'll see in these pictures here, the Gen 5 frame looks a heck of a lot like my Gen 2 Glock 17 from the early 90s. So back to the future in some respects. Finger grooves are gone. Thank God, in my opinion. One of the most frustrating things for me was when Glock and with their Gen 3 and Gen 4 went to those finger grooves. They did not fit my hands. They just always were in the way. Felt crappy. They are using the RTF type of stippling here, which is good. It's much better than the Gen 2 frame that I had that had no stippling whatsoever. We also have Ambidextrous slide stop here, which is a nice improvement. Gosh, it took Glock a long time to do that, but I'm really glad they did. Trigger feels like a Glock trigger. What I noticed with this one though is there's a little less squish and a little less over travel. This gun is relatively new. Paul acquired it. It's got a couple hundred rounds through it. So I expect the trigger will get even better, but again, it feels to me like a Glock trigger, and I happen to like them. It feels great. You'll note on the frame here, right at the butt here where you insert the mags, it's slightly flared. On the upside, for magazine insertions, that's nice. On the downside, and for me, sometimes Glock magazines do not fall free, and therefore you'd want to strip them. Well, with that slight flare, that means it's a little more difficult to strip unless you get your finger up into the very front here, and there is that cutaway for that. So again, I don't think that's a huge difference. That is something to note. We also, of course, have a light rail here so we can attach it. We do have, Paul has swapped out the sights. We've got some nice fighting sights in my opinion. Tritium insert on the front, tritium insert on the rear, good block. We had to do a one-handed clearance drill. So we're going to shoot it just a little bit, give you guys to see it. There's never been a Glock handgun that I haven't liked. I have to say the Gen 5 feels much better in my hand because it feels like I'm back to their original Gen 2 frame, but this time they've added some stippling. So we're going to shoot it right now, give you guys a chance to see it. Again, shout out to my friend Paul for letting us borrow this and a whole bunch of other pistols that you've seen in these reviews recently. Today we're shooting some 124 grain Anguilla ammunition. I've had great success with this in the past. It's very reliable, certainly seems to work in any gun that I've used it in. So we're just going to work a few slow precision shots. Feels like a Glock, no problem whatsoever getting those in there. I am working that trigger. I'm used to a different trigger, so I think with another 50 or 100 rounds through it, I kind of have that figured out. Let's see if I can do a little bit better job here. So we've got one hole with the exception of the first shot that I pulled down on as I was getting used to the trigger, and then a slight one to the left of that, I think our third or fourth in. Feels like a Glock, feels good. I have to say, frame, big difference for me without those finger grooves in the way. Just don't like the way they feel, and so having the finger grooves gone makes the gun feel a lot more locked in my hands, and like when I make the presentation, that it's right where I want it. So I think that's a huge improvement. Let's try a couple of double taps or something like that, and then we'll move off to the steel. So far, I'm really liking the way it feels. That one fell through, fell free, awesome. Again, sometimes with the Glocks they don't. That mag fell right out. That's awesome. I think maybe that's an improvement that they've made. Feels like a Glock. Feels really, really good in the hand. And again, this new Back to the Future frame. Those finger grooves gone. Really feel great. Let's transition and shoot some steel right now. All right, downrange there, we got our steel. We're just going to work that. I'm going to go slow and deliberate so I can work this. Guys, no problem at all. And what I'd expect, right? I mean, this is a Glock. I've shot Glocks for years. I have to say, I think this is an improvement between the Gen 4. If I had a Gen 4 versus this, I'd rather have this because the frame just fits my hand so much better. So I'm having no problem whatsoever. I've never shot this gun before, and you can see pretty much I'm getting hits. Liking the trigger. I think the trigger is a slight improvement. Again, I don't have a Gen 4 to compare it to. I can say that frame for me is making a huge difference. You saw every one of our mags fell free from the gun, no problem whatsoever. Also, if you're a lefty, your ability to swap out the mag release to the other side. And also, the angle of the mag release here is such that it's easy to get to. It's just right in line with my thumb and that quick punch and it's out. I like that. I think that's a big improvement in the right direction. Well guys, that's a real quick look at the new Gen 5. 5 generations of Glock already. Gen 5 G17. Special shout out again to Paul for letting us use this gun and some of his other firearms in his collections. Finally, and as always, stay safe.